Hi, thank you for joining. We will go with the next session of our series of Under the Hood webinars, and today we will look into the backup and recovery services. My name is Robert Markič, and my role at NIL is Business Development Manager for Data Center. My specialty is storage and backup for less than 15 years, from technical to sales side. Today's session is first part of our business continuity sessions. Today we will look into the backup part. Next time we will look into the Azure Site Recovery Services. Let's look now what actually we'll see today. So first of all, we will try to get some weight on the business value of backup, why actually we need to do the backup. We all know backups, of course, but today we will look into the cloud backup solution and what benefits we can get out of it. We will went through the Azure Backup solution, which is one of the renowned cloud solutions. We will look what scenarios we can cover with the Azure Backup. Of course, the very important part is also pricing. We prepared some examples. And the main part is, of course, the demo. We will look into how to do it. For many firms, disaster recovery systems are seen as necessary but expensive and usually are treated with a lower priority. That was true in previous year, but recently every day more and more is talking about business continuity, disaster recovery plans, BCPs, documents. There are standards created on this team, but still there are happening disasters and the business is down. And great example was recently in States where many flights were cancelled just because of some simple defect on equipment which caused the shutdown of the whole computer systems. One part of business continuity, of course, data availability. This is the important part where we provide that data is always available, the actual data or the data from the past, which is also very important for business. So what are the reasons that data loss happens? It's daily work, it's human errors. We delete virtual machines very easily today, but how to get back? In business, it can take quite a lot of time to establish the full functionality. There are hardware failures, as we saw, and also the recent threats, as we look today, is also this ransomware, which can be quite painful. Can we evaluate what price has our data? It can be priceless, of course. If we have data, if our data is gone, we can close the business in many cases. Do we treat it accordingly? IT managers know that backup is priority and we need to do it, but in practice usually it's not that way. So it's, it works, but backup, we will cover that later. Today the data is growing enormously and data is really important for the business, and so this priority needs to go up. We have to fight with the high rise of the data size and to keep all safely, and it can be quite expensive. We do this everything on premises, try to do second premises, second data center. This is really expensive. But luckily here is another solution in recent years, and the cloud can offer us quite good solution for really nice price. Actually, cloud is disrupting the backup market. We see that 30% of data stored is actually backup in the cloud. 1/4 of server backups is already happening in the cloud. It can be much cheaper than tape or other similar solutions, and cloud is mature today. So now let's look into our Azure Backup solution, which we'll cover today. Microsoft has actually two solutions which covers our topics. So Azure Site Recovery for disaster recovery, and Azure Backup for keeping our data safe for longer times and for previous versions in case of some failures. In next webinar on 1st of September, you can watch us for Azure site recovery part. So what is Azure Backup? It's Microsoft cloud solution. It can work in cloud, or it can also do backup of our on-premise systems. It can be used easily for a vault site, so we don't need to move any more tapes into some safes or in some banks, which are also not every time the safest solution, and there are also costs handling of tapes. And the Azure Backup is reliable, secure, and it really can be cost competitive. It even gets easier when we move our services to the cloud, so that then the full integration comes into the play. We will see that also in demo. How it works, Azure Backup. So if we look now in the part of to do backup from our on-premises, it's also quite simple solution, but we need to go to sign up to Azure. That's always this step, but then we need to install the agent on our on-premise server, desktop, laptop, whatever. Then we register our system into the Windows Azure Cloud, and that's about it. Then we can start to do backups, do the recover, and our data is safely protected in Azure Cloud. We can even choose if we want to have our backups on one location, or we can choose the geo-redundant location, which means it's a few hundred miles away, another copy of our data. It's important to know that each copy actually has 3 physical copies of our data in one site, and there are another 3 copies in another site if we choose geo-redundant location. So, a bit technical, how is done this backup from our on-premise systems? First of all, it's for every incremental backup, it identifies the blocks which are changed, and then these blocks are compressed and sent to the cloud. Compression brings additional bandwidth optimization up to 50% or even more in some cases. Next step is that data is also encrypted. Of course, we need to be sure that our data is safe and secure, nobody can touch it. So actually data is encrypted already on premises and sent to cloud, and at rest there in Azure Backup, data is also encrypted. An important thing is that we need to keep the key, the encryption key on premises in some safe deposit or safe, because if we lose that key, there's no way to get the data back from Azure, because we are the owner of the data and only we have access to it. In many cases, and in a large environment, there are some needs that regular restores must be done from the backups for daily job, for some reporting, something. So there is a way that we can even have some backups stored locally for a shorter period, but for longer period we move the backups to the cloud. It's like more for vaulting. It can be a very cost-effective way to replacing our tapes off-site. How is this done? For this we can use the Azure Backup server. So this is the tool which we already get into with the subscription to the Azure. So there's no additional cost to this, no license. We just need to install this tool at the on-premises, and it's DPM-like. If you know Microsoft Data Protection Manager, it's a Microsoft on-premises backup solution. It's same look and feel, and we can perform backup with this tool to Microsoft Azure, and we can store smaller amount. We can cache short-term backups locally on premises and long-term backups to the cloud. It also includes the application awareness, so that we can get like SQL, SharePoint, and Exchange backups and can perform the point-in-time restores. Important thing is also, this is for medium-sized or smaller companies which do not have system center, and this tool doesn't require that. The possible scenarios with Azure Backup to save our data from our premises. So first of all is this enterprise solution for the big companies where is needed also some more flexibility, maybe even using still some copy on tape. For that, DPM server is the solution which can talk to Azure Backup services. Then we just looked into this second option, Azure Backup Server, which is for small or medium companies without system center and without DPM. And it's a really cost-effective solution with centralized management. And of course, this Windows Server, so we can cover with this solution the branch offices, some home offices, some smaller environment with direct backup agent, which each server directly backups to Azure Backup Cloud. With the Azure Backup Server, we have also possibility to backup virtual machines from VMware, where we don't need additional agent installed on the virtual machine. The next thing is, how do you protect your business if you're already using the Azure Cloud? So your servers, your services are already in the Azure infrastructure as a service. Then it gets much easier, much more elegant. So you just need to register the VMs which you want to backup, and then second step is just to choose the policy, and that's it. All the backups are performed automatically in the background. We don't need to take care of anything. There's always then the recover points are available for each service or virtual machine. We will see that in demo. Let's see now the pricing part. So we provide 3 examples. Some small software company, it can be some startup or something more software orientated, maybe even using already the cloud. It's quite entry price and can cover quite a lot. Some SMB commercial companies, second one, I think there are many in Slovenia like that, and this is the price. It's no additional cost if you do more restores or something like that. Now we can see the enterprise financial company. Somebody will say, wow, that's not so cheap anymore. But think of Delta and 1,000 grounded flights and so many passengers with additional vouchers, and that's only the current cost, but what is the business cost later on? So yeah, this can be discussable. Okay, and for demo now. We will have this demo in 2 parts. First of all, we would like to show you how simple it is to backup some branch office, desktop, laptop. I will just show you how to backup simple laptop. I will show that on my laptop. Later we will look into SQL on premises. It's quite easy. And second part will be if we are already using the Azure for our services and how it's done then in Azure. So we go into the Azure portal. So everybody has access to this part. Then you can start free. You get some amount of Azure subscription to get the feeling for the start. We have our subscription, and I will now log in into our demo subscription part. So it's filtered out just for this demo part. You will see some numbers, some environment parts, some of my services and systems. There are also our colleagues are using this for some data mining testing, and I think one of the Azure previous webinars were also in this subscription. So this is our main portal. Now, for the backup part, we need to go to recovery services vaults. maybe if somebody already used Azure in the past, there was old portal, and now this is the new portal for last month, and now even backup is moved here to the new portal, which was in transition in last month. So let's go to recovery services world. So we create one recovery service, and I already prepared that in advance. So we have here an overview of our recovery services. We connect our systems, our services to this recovery services world, and we can see here I have some virtual machines in Azure. I have some file folder systems from premises already backed up, and let us see how we can do this now to protect my laptop. So first of all, we need to select our backup infrastructure. There's a lot of configuration options. You will see plenty of, only one. You just choose locally or be redundant, and that's all the settings you need to do here. And then we can start to register our on-premise systems and include them into the backup. So first step is select Azure or on-premises. I will select on-premises. I have these options. For files and folders, I get really one simple agent which I install. For these other options, applications and Hyper-V, I need to install the Azure Backup server on premises, which we covered that in the presentation. Now we need to download the agent. It's MRSA agent installer. I did that already, but installs in a few minutes, so it's quite simple. So this is our client. I will move our client here. So this is this Azure Backup client. And very important is that we download also the credentials. Of course, we need to provide a secure connection to the Azure to perform the encryption. So let us save this file. Just remember this step. Save. And that's about it from the Azure part. Now we move to our laptop and just register our server, laptop, our workstation, and select this credential. It's valid for 2 days. After 2 days, you need to create a new file. With this same file, you can register more on-premise servers. So you don't need to do this download of the encryption credentials. Okay, next. You need to generate passphrase, and it's very important that you save this on some safe place. I will select now here, but it's really important to keep this passphrase in case if you lose this server, you need passphrase to restore it to another server. So this is very important to keep. So this is the registration now, and that's about it. Close. Now we can schedule the backup. We can change. I had already this previous some demo settings. So this said, we can add here items. So it's really simple. Just select any files or folders, some exclusion you can set, and then set the time of the day. You can set 3 times per day, and even some weekly backups. And this is the retention policy. You can select dailies, weeklies, monthlies, yearly backups, select for how long to be saved. And that's about it. Now we can do the backup now, and backup is performed. You can do the recover. We need to wait for job to be finished. It will take just a few seconds. So there's not a lot of changes in this demo files. Now we are able to do the recover. So here is the recover option. You have some change properties. You can throttle it, set throttling to the system. So throttling, proxy, encryption. You can change this passphrase. And about the recovery, so you can restore to the same place. You can choose another server. You can search for files, browse. So actually now this is fetching files from the Azure, so it performs quite acceptable. It's no big, I would say, that you would expect some delays from cloud today. This is not a problem anymore. So they select items and restore. So this is quite easy job. Good. So let's close now this part. So we did now the backup on-premises for our basic system, files and folders. Now we'll show you how to backup SQL. We will not actually perform backup, but I will just show you where you can do this. So the latest SQLs, you just select backup database, and there, instead of disk, you just select URL, you select credential, Azure storage container, and it goes then to your blob. So this is already integrated in the SQL. For more advanced features, you need to install Azure Backup Server, but we will not cover that today. I think it's beyond scope of this our webinar. But if there are some wishes, we can maybe later prepare also this part. Okay, let's go now to the Azure part. So what if we have our business in the cloud? I have created here some server also. We will just look. This is the overview. What is our server doing? Most or less nothing because of the demo system. And I have installed also SQL on this server. And during this, you can select also SQL server configuration, and where you can set backup for the SQL part. And you have here some settings, so how long to retain backups of this SQL part, to which accounts must be done, and is it encrypted, automated. This is for the application part on this machine, but when we go into when we want to actually add virtual machine into the backup, we need actually to go to recovery service vaults, where we already did that before. Just we need to select the Azure, not the on-premise option. So we go to backup, and now we selected before on-premise, now we select Azure, and we select the virtual machine. Okay, then it looks into the Azure which machines are ready to be backed up. First of all, we need to select policy, protection policy. We have more. I created some or additional. You can use default and confirm, and then it shows you also the virtual machines which are not protected yet. So, but I have already now included in protection, so this is empty. So this is the virtual machine part, the SQL part, but we can also use SQL database as a service in Azure. And we can also do automatic backups of that part. So SQL databases, I created this service So this service is here. We have all these options. And you can also see here up, you have the restore option. So actually the SQL is actually automatically backed up in the background, and you just select point in time and where do you want to restore, and it's as simple as that. Everything is integrated. And just the last thing more, I already also created some app service, some websites to get the feeling. So it's like demo websites. And here also there's an option to include in the backup. Actually, for this service, I don't have the right type of the website. So under the backups, I can show you. So if it's at least standard type of web services, then you have these options. How to set that? Just go to backup to this part. You can select standard. I have now basic, but you can go with standard. It's a bit expensive and so, but then you have also these options to do backup restore. This is then about it. Thank you very much for joining today. I would also like to invite you again for the next session, which will be on 1st of September, and we will look into the Azure Site Recovery services. Thank you again for today.